Good morning, everyone. Welcome to NB Geeks Let's Talk. I am your host, NB Geek. This is a 10 Forward Roundtable. If I get some co-hosts on, they may be here shortly. Hello, Potato Revan. Nice to see you. And this is not normally my time to do stuff. I know I'm kind of treading on an Snow Loki's time, but and I have nothing but mad respect. I was actually up there all the way too, but I'm having some issues, respiratory issues. So if my voice is off, Averick Sunder, 47 Yorktown, thank you for coming on. And yeah, hey, Revan. So, folks, the reason why this topic came up for me and why I wanted to discuss it is because I've had over many years talking about Star Trek. And when I say Star Trek, I mean Star Trek up until 2005. The rest of that shit can pound sand. It's garbage. Most of us would agree with that. It is a bastardized piece of shit version of something we loved. The term people always used was Star Trek is progressive. And I absolutely completely agree with that. But I've also said, and this is where the issue has come in. When I say Star Trek is, the Federation is a conservative form of government. And oh, dude, you would not believe, online, offline, to my face, like, how the hell can you say that? I've actually had people attack me and say, how can you fucking say you love Star Trek and be a conservative? Well, I'm going to make the case right here because I really feel people in modern culture right now do not really understand the terms and the definitions of conservatism, liberal, and progressive. So let's start out here. Conservative, and these are all from Merriam-Webster. I'm going to take the second part. Trending or disposed to maintain existing views, conditions, or institutions. Okay, that makes sense to me because the Federation has a founding document. General Order 1, the Prime Directive. They want to stay with that. Marked by moderation or caution. And I'm going to get into that, why that is important to the Prime Directive. And I'm going to quote Picard directly from that, from Memory Alpha. Marked by or relating to traditional norms of taste, elegance, style, or mannerism. And you can look this up on Merriam-Webster. I always use it. Now, what is the term liberal? Section 2. Marked by generosity. Okay, the Federation is very generous to both its Federation worlds and its non-Federation worlds when it's requested. Given or to provide a generous, open hand way. There's that is part 2. There is a third one and many others. And this is the point I'm getting at here, is there are many, many terms in our English language that have different meanings or have different terms depending on what you are using that word as. Progressive, of, relating to, or characterizing by progression. See, I hate when they do that. Because these three terms get related to politics. The big one, this is where I agree 100% that Star Trek and the Federation is progressive, because this is the third term. Moving forward or onward, advancing. That is really where it's at. So the Federation, the core of the Federation is based on a founding document that they created. Just like in America, our document, and in our documents, we've had two. Most people don't know this. Our first one was at the creation of the United States of America, was the Articles of Confederation. And when we had a constitution, when they had a convention many years later, the intent was to modify the Articles of Confederation, but they ended up changing it in many ways that would be described as the U.S. Constitution. And let's see, Prime Directive. I'm going to say this. This is why I say this is very conservative, because modern, I believe liberals and people who are progressive would agree with this. But you have the terms conservative. That is being labeled in America with the Republican Party. Liberalism is labeled with the Democrat Party. Okay. The Republican Party, the Democrat Party, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, whatever you want to, they are private business organizations that focus on getting people into political office. Whereas the idea of conservatism, liberalism, progressivism are ideologies. They just happen to somehow have been divided that way. When you really look back at some people we've had in our history, some of the greatest Democrats we've ever had, JFK, Martin Luther King, by today's standards, they would be seen as, almost, they would be seen as conservatives, because everything they did, based on my belief as a constitutional conservative in America, they held to those values. Robert Kennedy did too. Many Democrats, many people of color, and I hate that fucking term, but now it is what it is. And I blame the media for this. I really do. And I blame a lot of our politicians, and I'm talking both sides. But here's how the Prime Directive really goes. It's stated when Picard says this is symbiosis. The Prime Directive is not just a set of rules. It is a philosophy, and a very correct one. History has proven again and again, whenever mankind interferes with a lesser developed civilization, no matter how well intentioned the interference may be, the result is inevitably disastrous. And folks, that is absolutely 100% correct. Look at what we tried to do in Afghanistan in America. I'm going to use this most recent one. We spent 20 years over there trying to westernize the culture of people that did not want to change that. Some of them may, but they were still at the heart, thousands of years of history, that was their way. And our way is not what they wanted. They rejected it. They did not like it. In their culture, what we were doing was we were being invaders. And hey, 47 Yorktown, if I didn't actually mention you either. The Federation's key document is non-interference. History has shown, in America especially, when we try to push our values and our culture onto other people and try to force them, intentionally or not, to see things from our point of view, it has always ended in disaster. Always. That is historical fact. The Federation is not an imperialism people. They are not conquerors. The Federation has what would be considered member planets, just like in America, member states. And what they do is, to be a member of the Federation, you have to adhere to the founding document. that is the prime directive. Just like when a territory or something wants to enter into the United States, they have to accept that their rules must be based around the Constitution. That does not mean they do not still self-govern. Vulcan, Andoria, Tellarites, they still self-govern. They have their own religions, they have their own cultures, their own respect, and their own way of doing things. That is conservatism in my mind at its purest, and that is the respect. Remember when Worf had to resign his commission because Picard would not let him go there during the Klingon Civil War because that was outside the line of the Prime Directive and the mission of Starfleet. When, let me check here. Sorry, guys, I know my voice is cracking. When Archer said in the mess, he goes, one day there's going to be a doc in there. There's going to be a document. Okay. Captain Archer, in Dear Doctor, someday my people are going to come up with some sort of doctrine, something that tells us what we can and can't do out here, should and shouldn't do. But until somebody tells me that they have drafted this directive, I'm going to have to remind myself every day that we didn't come out here to play God. If you look at the current climate in our country right now in America, there are many people who want things changed. They want it now. They live in an area where they feel this is how it should be, and the rest of America should be like that. The Federation allows for the respect of its individual planets and nations, as long as they fall in line with the Prime Directive. Now, liberalism, yes, absolutely, the Federation is also liberal. Absolutely. Extending an open hand, going out and helping non-Federation worlds when they request it. That is what we saw that in many episodes, especially in TNG. We saw proof of what happens when we interfere and try to change a culture. When Captain Garrett basically, created Nazi Germany in a planet. When you had the gangster episode, that was when those were, the first one, this second one was before the Prime Directive. And look what happened to them. They got a book. It was left. And they thought that was our culture. That was completely our culture. That was a screw up. And when you had the captain go down there and he's like, why did you do this? And it is shown, when you had the episode with the Klingons and the Federation there, and one episode, and they had to, basically they were getting involved in a Cold War. And, that is, progressivism, conservatism, and liberalism having, at the purest form, having where the differences lie. A starship's captain most solemn oath is that he will give his life, even as his entire crew, rather than violate the Prime Directive. Folks, when I took an oath to serve America, I didn't swear an oath to a president. I didn't swear an oath to a king, a chancellor, anyone. I swore, like in Star Trek, I swore an oath to a document. Let's see. The oath. It vowed to obey the laws of the United Federation of Planets, to defend its security, and to abide by its principles it stood for. It vowed to obey Starfleet orders and responsibilities. A vow to the principle of non-interference. Okay, see, that's the key part there. Non-interference. It basically means leave fucking people alone. Don't try to push your values or your bias on other people. That is what I believe conservatism means. We have right now in this country, this is why I don't call certain, I say the word left and I say the word right a lot of times. Because the word leftist to me are in the word extreme right to me and far left. Both cases, these are the type of people who want to push their values on you. They want their values to be validated. Everybody else's values are inexcusable. Let this be our last battlefield. You have the two characters. They could not get it. I mean, you had basically a left and a right, a far left and an extreme right, if you want to look at the term. And their entire civilization is destroyed. And they are the last survivors. And all they were going to do is kill each other because they are so 100% certain they are right and everybody else is wrong. And the fact that their own society is completely destroyed, they don't care. As far as they're concerned, they still have to kill each other because one has to be right over the other. And that, folks, is why I agree. Star Trek is very progressive. Absolutely. Very diverse. And rightly so. We have right now, people are mad and they get angry. They call it a cultural appropriation and they use it like it's an insult. It's like, no, we're learning from another culture and, maybe we cross-pollinate and incorporate that culture into our culture. Or we add to it. We add to, our society. We're not the Borg. The Borg takes everything and adds it, but only on their terms. The Federation was never like that. The Federation respected borders, respected boundaries, respected personal liberty, and respects freedom. Absolutely. They will fight and die for it. And that, folks, this is real quick because, like I said, my voice is going. But that is why I wanted to do this. I really feel that people who watch Star Trek and then say things like they've said to me have a misunderstanding of those words. They identify conservatism, liberalism, progressivism to a modern political party. And that's not the way it is. Because, see, I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative. I hold to no party. If a Democrat, and I voted for Democrats, if I feel they are staying within bounds and are going to faithfully execute the duty to the Constitution, I will vote for them. All right, folks. Thank you for coming over. This was very quick. You all have a blessed one.